Alrighty, welcome everyone. Thanks for tuning into my YouTube channel. Today's video is going to be about the Six People Grassroots Challenge. My name is Robert Bennett. I'm a candidate for Congress in North Carolina's 2nd Congressional District. I am the underdog. I am not part of the establishment or any of that stuff. I'm here to bring a new plan and new ideas to North Carolina that are desperately needed in Washington, D.C. these days. And, most people may look at a campaign like mine and say it can't be done or it's too hard to build support, things like that. Well, not only have I been planning this campaign for several months, but I've been planning specific things to help hopefully build support quickly. And one of those is the Six People Challenge here. Now, before we get started and explain what it is, I just want to remind everyone I'm a Democratic Party candidate. The Democratic Party primary in North Carolina will be on March 3rd. That is for all congressional races. Since I'm running obviously for the US House, one of the things that people need to know is that Democrats and independents both registered on affiliates as they're known in our state. They're eligible to vote for me in the primary, and I encourage both of them to do so. You can find out more about me on our website, robertfrenzy.com. You can follow me, of course, on other social media channels like Substack, Reddit, YouTube, of course, TikTok, that sort of thing. And this is the very beginning of my YouTube channel if you're listening to this video right now. And we would love for people to help. It is not easy to start a YouTube channel on your own, even though it's free. So we're currently looking for volunteers or people to help with video editing and things like that. I've got lots of great ideas for content. So I hope you'll subscribe, like, leave a comment, and I might even have a chance to respond to it. I'm officially a content creator at this point. So it's kind of a weird feeling to be in that boat now. But yeah, we'll get started. So I want to explain what the Six People Challenge is. It's based off of previous scientific research and some ideas I've known about for a while. And again, let's kind of just start out with what the goal of my campaign is and what the goal of similar grassroots campaigns around the country now are doing. We want to turn the tide against big money in politics. We want to build support for newer candidates, quite frankly, more diverse candidates, both in terms of their professional background, their personal identity, their previous employment, things like that, and also stay true to their values. And my background personally is in social science with political science, environmental science. My master's focused on climate change, but focused heavily on climate policy and things of that nature. So I really consider myself a social scientist. And I want social science to lead the way. I don't want these corrupt campaign managers or wealthy donors to lead the way. So we need something new to change that. And again, I already mentioned some of this. Democrats and independents both can vote for me. So that's the advantage of my primary specifically. And, again, it may look daunting to start a congressional campaign or challenge the establishment, those sort of things like I'm doing. But I believe that and when I say we, I mean not just myself, but you as a viewer, you as a voter, or just supporter around the country. I believe we are six people away from really making a difference and turning the tide against the establishment. Quite simply, how? Well, I'm going to teach you right now with the Six People Challenge. So, again, we have a very simple way to help reduce communication barriers, get rid of the whole out of touch criticism that many people have of politicians, especially in Congress, and more importantly, interact with people both in person and online. The Six People Challenge is one of many ways I plan to do that as part of my campaign. The best part of it is anyone can complete this challenge, both if you live in the district, if you live in North Carolina at large, or even further out, looking at the whole country. So it's important to note that if you are watching this video, you can help us with this challenge, no matter who you are. And again, key to in person online engagement. It addresses a lot of different issues, which I'll talk about later. But, in Raleigh and Cary, where the district is, for example, there's a lot of multi-use housing developments here, and you cannot knock on doors there. Okay. One of the big lies you see in politics is people saying things like, I want to knock on every single door. A, they don't actually do that. B, more realistically, they can't. And then C, in some instances, you're either just not going to get someone to answer or someone is just not going to be interested, guys. And we got to start being honest about that. This six people challenge is a way to do it. And quite simply, the challenge is exactly what it sounds like. It's people telling six people about our campaign and then having them tell six more people. So again, maybe the number of people doing this is very small at first, but then over time, we want that number to increase, quite literally six people at a time, to make the engagement and outreach for our campaign grow exponentially over time. And we're going to talk a bit more about how and why we want to do that right here. So, first, let's talk about just some keys to spreading a message. Because that's ultimately what this six people challenge is about, is spreading a real, tangible political message. And the three simple keys, like I said, is getting six people to tell six more people. I've been telling folks as of late to do this within a 4 day span. We all have jobs, we all have busy lives and things like that. So I don't want my campaign to feel like a burden. We also want to ask that you do it within that 4 day span so that you at least, stay accountable to helping our campaign spread, and that sort of thing. Best of all, I'm going to say this a couple more times in a video. You can repeat this challenge. That's one of the big advantages of the six people challenge is say you tell six people on Monday, great, you've done your job. Now you can come back on Wednesday if you want and tell six more people and you've done your job again. You can repeat it and you can do it on your own time. Talk more about that in a little bit. You can also have very strategic messaging and packaging for a target audience. So I'm going to stick with the example of education here. For those of you who are learning about my campaign for the first time, not only is education an important issue to me, because I'm a former middle school lacrosse coach, I really enjoy both then and now. Teaching the right values, and teaching how to be good leaders to the next generation and that sort of thing. And we need way more investment in K through 12 and between the actual education, the staff, the teachers, all of it. It just need we need so many more investments in education, right? Well, you can actually go learn more about my education platform right now on my campaign website. It is through our interactive community policy memo. This thing is really detailed. It's a project I've been working on for several months now, and it's got one of the most detailed investments strategies for education in the state of North Carolina that you'll probably ever see. I don't want to spoil it all here, but what I'd like you to do is not only read that platform, but once you have, you can think strategically to really package that education platform, those education messages, if you will, because it's not just one, it's several within the memo itself. So you can package those to a target audience. Maybe it is a teachers union. Maybe you have a group chat with a bunch of former teachers in it, and they're people that would love to teach again. Not that different, frankly, from myself. I would love to coach again, plan to do it at some point. But maybe between the pay or other things going on, they're not able to. So again, you can package those messages strategically to a target audience of your choosing. And then the key, like I said, you can repeat this as many times as you want. And our goal is really to build a network very slowly but surely over time. And you can do it in person or online. Just a few more examples of this would be church groups, classrooms, community groups. even dare I say, social media boards. It's funny because most politicians, they post on social media, but they're not really engaged. It's a paid ad. It's one of their staffers doing it. They're not doing it themselves like I'm doing right now. There's no one else in this room but me filming this video, guys. I do want to get people to help with the video editing, but I haven't even gotten there yet, in case you're wondering. So again, comment sections, forums, even social media posts from other politicians. All of those are places where you can go to spread a message, especially a well packaged and designed message. And so that is basically my challenge for you is pick six people, think strategically about who they should be to be effective, package the message, spread it as far as you can, and repeat it as many times as you want. I already touched on this a little bit. Again, all sorts of forms of online media can be used: YouTube, TikTok, in person places. It doesn't matter. And again, kind of thinking about why to do it, you want to make sure that the voters in this area and the people that might support a campaign like mine, they have the resources and information they need to make an informed decision and be successful. And again, my campaign website, you can learn a lot more about me, my platform, my key messages, things like that, all on your own time. And I encourage you, obviously, to do so. Now, let's talk a little bit about where this idea came from. So, it's funny. I'm recording this video in October 2025. Back in the summer of this past year, I was reading a book called Thinking Better by Marcus Dusatoy, which talks about shortcuts in math and life. It's a really interesting book if you've never heard of it. But basically, the Six People Challenge came not just from when I was reading that book, but from several different studies across mathematics, social science, even public transportation on building a network over time. And it's really fascinating because there have been several studies that, even if they didn't phrase things the exact same way or have the same goal, they essentially studied how to build a network over time and how to use that network to accomplish certain things. And a fictional book that did a good job of really summing it up was really, I say it's a book, it actually was a play, but Six Degrees of Separation by John Guar. I think that's how you say his name. And I'll just read a quote here from one of the main characters. And this is also in Thinking Better as well, the same quote. But everyone on this planet is separated by only six other people, 6 degrees of separation between us and everybody else on this planet, including the president of the United States. Now, some of you may believe that. Some of you who are maybe more skeptical, just think about how many people you would be away from someone like the president, or even just someone who you think would be worth getting in touch with, more importantly, because sure, the president may not be your friend, especially not our current president, but you may know enough people that have some sort of connection to him. And in this case, it could be some sort of connection to me or to my voters or to someone that may be interested in my campaign. And again, what this challenge really is designed is, use these studies, use this knowledge to build that network over time, six people at a time, to close that gap and frankly close that separation. Um, a bit more of a controversial study on this was done by Stanley Milgram in 1967, where he basically used letters that he sent to people in Omaha, Nebraska, to try to find certain individuals. And the quote was, "If you happen to know this person, then please forward this letter to him. I would very much like to meet them." Stanley Milgram, of course, had a lot of controversial experiments. This was probably one of the less controversial ones, as it really was mostly targeted at just building a network and finding people, if you will. But nonetheless, whether it was that or even other experiments, a really cool analogy that was mentioned in the Thinking Better book was with a slime mold experiment that was done in Japan in, I think it was early 2000s, where basically the conclusion was that it showed how a decentralized adaptable network, I'll say that one more time, a decentralized adaptable network can show the shortest, most efficient path from one point or another. I don't have a piece of cloth with me, but think of this as basically like putting a blanket over an area and from there, having certain things happen underneath it to show what the shortest path is to getting to where you want to go. In other words, it's better network design using biological principles. That is basically what we want to do here. What happened with the slime mold experiment in Japan was engineers were building a new subway system that costed millions of dollars, if not maybe even close to billions of dollars, to basically have faster railway networks across the entire city of Tokyo. Tokyo, of course, is one of the largest metro areas in the world. And basically, they built the efficient design first, but then they did this experiment with slime mold. I shit you not, where the slime mold actually replicated the exact same efficient network for the railway. Um, if you want to learn more about it, there's a video here in the description that you can find online about the Tokyo Railway System experiment. It is really fascinating, and it goes to show that if you build, like I said earlier, a decentralized, adaptable network, you can actually get to that most efficient way or most efficient path much easier and frankly, probably cheaper. And that ties directly into a campaign like mine because with the grassroots campaign, we are quite simply going from one donor to another, more importantly, one voter to another. That is exactly what this challenge is about, is finding the most efficient path to the people that will support my campaign. And you can even try the same challenge if you're a prospective candidate out there in another state, another race, whatever. I encourage more to try it. And just to give a visual example of this network, so it's not just me listing off a bunch of science experiments. Think of this graphic here. I think I can use yeah, here we go. I'll use a laser pointer. So looking at this figure to the right here, um, these are all pretty common groups in really any city. It could be Raleigh, Cary, could even be places outside of my district like Charlotte. Doesn't or another state. Doesn't really matter. But it goes to show a network. You might have a homeless shelter. You might have a church, Catholic church in this case. Maybe it's some job training program, some public health agency. The point is, these are all relationships, different groups of people, individually or collectively. And then, most importantly, of course, as I've circled here, the politician is within that network. Frankly, this applies not just to me as someone who's running for office, but even the people that are currently in power. The establishment Democrats and Republicans have powerful networks too. We are simply building our own to frankly beat them. And so that is what this is about, is building that network to build relationships and trust over time and then build the network to ultimately win and connect those relationships, as you can see in this graphic. So again, I talked a little bit about it earlier, but your goal is to tailor a message, package it, and then send it off to the people that you think would be most interested in this campaign. And so, again, it could be people around the country, it could be people within the state of North Carolina. Obviously, we would love to target as many people within the district as possible because those are ultimately our voters. I highly recommend everyone check out the interactive community policy memo because that gets everyone on the same page about what my priorities are, what my really detailed policy platform is. I promise you, there is nothing like it in the entire country. It covers nearly 30 topics. It talks about affordability. It talks about saving democracy, getting big money out of politics. A lot of great stuff is there. We have a proposal to provide healthcare to every American for much less, much less per capita than is currently the case under the Obamacare framework that we have. So, again, I encourage people to read it, package those messages, excuse me, those messages over time, and then help us and spread the message and build the network. And again, we haven't. I hope to share a few different types of maps over time, especially as we build this network. But once the network starts to get built, we can map it out, and that's going to help me tremendously with things like door knocking and canvassing, but also with just community outreach and engagement as someone that's running for office. And so, kind of like the graphic earlier with the different nodes, you can see how over time, as a network gets built, it builds up in the district. All right. It can be central hubs that, especially different neighborhoods or, you know, areas like downtown Raleigh, for example, that people frequent a lot in the district. And then from there, that can be used as sort of a hub to help build a network. And so we can map it out. We can add more layers of data to this as we map it. We can do lots of cool stuff. And I hope to kind of do a part two, maybe even part three of the six network challenge to show what that map may look like one day. Again, you've got all sorts of options to package the messages. Not only do you have the memo, but it is worth mentioning both some of the other stuff I've been working on. One of the key proposals is proportional representation, basically a new way to empower voters to find a representative for them in a way that they don't right now. Right now, it is winner take all for American elections. In proportional representation, it'll be a system where basically if a candidate wins a certain percentage of voters, then that candidate wins a seat in Congress or in the legislature. So that stuff is really worth checking out. You can obviously check out my YouTube channel. My Substack blog is going to be really cool. We've got a few posts up there already. Um, and there's other social media channels you can follow me on. So there's a lot of ways to find me, connect with me, and then find my messages that you can package to supporters. And again, I touched on this earlier, but just talking a bit more about why should we do this and how this helps. Again, it gives everyone a chance to communicate with me as a candidate within reason, um, and to learn more about the campaign. Um, and then the network can really help to spread the platform and build support for it. And again, really building the support of donors, volunteers, supporters alike. And then ultimately, voters on March 3rd, 2026, when the primary happens. And just touch a bit more about some of the challenges that this really helps. Again, it can really be good for target outreach to disenfranchised voters and independent voters. Touched on it a little bit earlier, but the issue of multifamily or urban housing and solicitation rules for businesses. This is a way to kind of get around that because whether it's word of mouth or whether it's social media and things like that, you have a chance to really connect with that person and have them learn more about the campaign. It's not as time consuming or expensive as phone banking or door knocking. And don't get me wrong, we would like to do those activities during this campaign. We plan to, but we really want to do things differently and as efficiently as possible. And I truly believe that getting every volunteer, every supporter, every donor, every voter to tell six people at a time and have them tell six more people is kind of just a better way of doing things than your traditional spam calling or door knocking, that sort of thing. And you can even use some low cost print materials to help spread the message, like a QR code. We'll have those to share with folks on my campaign website, Discord channel, and things like that in the future here. You can have fun, get outside, talk to someone new. Um, and lastly, it helps to spread ideas and start conversations. And again, it hopefully builds that network over time because what good is a congressional candidate if they have no ideas for the future? I have too many ideas for the future to count. And so I want to make sure that you, as a viewer, voter, donor, whatever, know about it so that you can hopefully support it. Again, just lastly, like I've said before, you can repeat this challenge as many times as you want, do it on your own time. It gives you the freedom to help a grassroots campaign like mine to win. Keep it as short or as long as you want. Just think strategically again about how you want to package these messages of my campaign to your target audience. And from there, you can have fun. I believe that is the end of it. Yep. So thank you guys again. You can find out more about my campaign at robertfrency.com. You can donate there, subscribe to my YouTube channel and other social media pages, and I look forward to connecting with you.